Kenan's mom, both of them were like the same size, same build, and we just clicked. You know what I mean? And then also too as well. I mean, we was both black.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So
link up regardless.
Right. Atlanta was very similar to Chicago in the sense of we kind of came from the same type of background. So, and then now comedic wise, I remember we were introducing, I think it was TLC. Oh, it was the moment where, at the end of the show when they go, oh yeah, kick it.
Right.
At the end of the show. Okay. So that came from a sketch when we were introducing TLC. And it was at that moment where we were playing Mavis and Clavis, and I would say something, and we were improv, and he knew what I was about to say next, and everything we said just complemented each other with the comedy. And we both looked at each other. We talked about this moment. We looked at each other like, yo, dang. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy, like how it's just going very well. And that was the thing that the producers saw, and they started just putting us a sketch after sketch after sketch together. And that's how that friendship came about being, you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's one of those legendary combinations, it's just part of like TV history. You two. On that show, I always wanted to know, because I didn't know, it was good to hear that from your audition, some of those characters were born. I was always interested to know, like, how much input or influence did y'all have with creating the characters, and with the sketches, how much input when it came to the scripts? Did they give y'all like freedom to like change some things, or they was like, no, kind of stick to what we doing, or what?
How they started it off, which was so dope. I mean, shout out to our writers and producers, where they would go, do it the way we wrote it, and we'll get it in the can. Then after that, improv, go crazy. And we'll film it, and you can do what you want. And with me, I love that because I was a very physical comedian. I grew up watching, Jim Carrey and, Jerry Lewis and, Martin Lawrence, who are just, amazing. So I watched all these different people. And so for me, it was awesome to be able to be so physical. It got to the point where they were writing the script. Then Kel do something physical. Like, it was just like that. Like, they already knew, like, they could tell me, like, hey, just go. And so shout out to that. A lot of that stuff that we improv with as kids ended up on the show. And it was just, like, awesome that they allowed us to do that. Yeah,
man, that's fine. What was your favorite character or your favorite sketch, or both?
I would definitely say Coach Cretin is like one of my favorite, just because he missing a tooth.
All right.
He get to yell at folks. The physicality was so like super out of here. You know what I mean? And I think I just have so much fun with him. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. Even to this day, like still.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Man, yeah, so that's amazing. So when did the show, when the show hit, could you tell noticeably that there was a shift in like your fame? Like when it started to pop, did you start like, oh, people like really starting to recognize me when I'm out and about? And what was that like? And what was that moment?
We do tests. Like, we did a test. Like, first, like when it first got started, we would go out and walk around, and nobody was like, kind of coming after us, right? Then we would do the same test again, and it became like Bieber status, where it was like people was running after us. It got kind of crazy. And it was funny because I'll never forget one time we went to Disney, the whole cast. We went to Disney World, and there was this trolley that was up there that we had to get on. It's like a private trolley that Walt Disney made or whatever for VIPs.
Crazy.
So we're walking, and all these kids are like, all that, right? And everybody's running. And they said, get to the trolley. So everybody's running to the trolley, right? My butt, because, it's like, it's some girls on the corner. They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I just signed one. It ain't no big thing. And so I found one. It gets really, really crazy. You know what I mean? It's nuts. One girl ends up having an asthma attack. And I'm thinking like everything good because she's going, like, Kel. But then it turns into, and it's like, oh no. So I stayed with her because I'm that type of person.
Well, good.
Stayed with her. Somebody came to help her out. But we kind of knew at that moment where it's like, dang, it's certain places we can't really like go because it's getting to the point where people chasing us around. And I'm thankful that it's still like, it's like that today. It's like, what I mean? Like, but it's even crazier because, I know we're going to get to this, but it's like, it's a new generation that is watching me and their parents know me from the 90s. So it's kind of wild as far as like how the fan base is, which is exciting.
Absolutely. You know, people like you, Kenan, I would say even like a Raven Simone. It's amazing that like I grew up on you and my daughter is growing up on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just we were sitting there watching That's So Raven. Oh, and of course when the reboot of all that came back, I told my daughter like, you gotta watch all that. I grew up on all that. You gotta watch all that. But even my daughter was watching That's So Raven, and I'm thinking like, dang, I grew up with Raven Simone on the Cosby Show. And now here my daughter is watching all her episodes on Disney Plus of That's So Raven and Raven Song. So it's just to be able to have such longevity in this business is such a blessing, man. I just think about that. That's something that I revere. You know what I'm saying about you and your career so far, man.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So the producers, when did the producers say, okay, we need to have a Kenan and Kel show?
All right, so they took us to the side. Usually we go have a hiatus where, we have a break, in the show, right? And I know you know what that means. I'm just saying it for the viewers.
No, I appreciate it. They're like, what's a hiatus? How you spell that?
So we would just have like, a hiatus. And so usually we would go back home, but then they took us to this like dressing room in the back we didn't know about, and the producers and our parents were in there, and me and Kenan by ourselves. And they were just like, yo, so all the kids are going to go home and you two are going to stay here. And we were like, huh? And they're like, yeah, you are going to have your own show. It's like, yo, what? And they're like, yeah, you're going to have your own show. We see what you guys do offset, and we like it. And so we're going to do a show, and it's going to be similar to like, a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and a Martin type of show. And so you guys are going to be playing real characters. And I was like, yo! And I remember that picture. And so I remember that they were like coming up with the name of the show. Because then we went to like dinner after that, after they were putting the script together, and they had the script. And Kim Bass, who created the Kenan and Kel show with Brian Robbins and Mike Tolan and everybody, he also created Sister Sister, which was crazy at the same time.
Wow.
And so it was bananas because I remember we were at dinner and they're like, what are we gonna call this show? And it was all these like crazy names. It was a paper with a whole bunch of names, like me and my homie, me and my friend. And then so somebody, I don't know who it was like, just call the show Kenan and Kel. And so, which was awesome because I remember Will speaking about this, who's amazing. Will always say like, hey, it was amazing that the show was named after me. You know what I mean? Because people would know Will, like Will Smith, and know that name, and it'd be a household name. So for me, Kel became a household name, just like Kenan Thompson became a household name because our characters' names were in the show as well. So I'm thankful that ended up happening. And man, we tried our own show, and we were doing all that plus Kenan and Kel and back and forth while being in school, doing it all at the same time.
That's crazy. Yeah, I gotta get my own show because my character name is Bozer on MacGyver.
I know.
and I'm tired. And then I'm rapping now, so you can't be out in the streets. They're like, "Hey, Bozer." I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna need you to stop calling me that." So,
Bozer got them bars.
I appreciate it. Well, that's something I kind of skipped over. I remember seeing the episode when you rapped at the end as the musical guest on all that. And I was like, Kel rap too? And I mean, you killed it. So,
thank you.
Hey, look at that. So, what? Do you still rap? Or did you ever put out like a project during that time or what? Because we didn't have like Apple and Spotify back then, So if it was something like that back then, it would have been easier for people to get your music. But did you ever put out a project or anything?
Yeah, I did. So I was rapping before I was into acting.
Wow. So
like back in Chicago, me and my boys, we created like a rap group. You know what I mean? And so I ended up getting on WGCI, which was dope with a song. And, I was out there really. I battled Common when I was a kid. My sister worked at a record store out in Chicago called Metro Music. And Metro Music was like all the celebs used to go there when they came through Chicago. So you would see all like the 8x10s on the wall and they would sign it. And, Common grew up on South Side of Chi too, like right next to my hood. And so I remember him coming in there And I was like, yo, it's coming. And I remember him freestyling. At that time, I was rapping like Crisscross. So I was on some old, Kenan Kel, you know, all that.
Right.
And I'll never forget it. And so like hip hop, like really was another thing that saved me from getting it.